Hi, it's Maggie the Irish Gypsy here to bring you your July 2020 mid-month general reading. So we're looking at the last half of July. This reading is for the fire sign of Sagittarius. Welcome everyone. It's been a crazy year. Doesn't look like it's going to get any saner anytime soon, so I hope, as I always do, that everyone is staying safe and well and reasonably well balanced, even though I know that varies from day to day with the world conditions. Thanks for taking the time to tune in today, and thank you for everything that you do, have done, and continue to do in support of this channel. Liking, sharing, subscribing, donating, just taking the time to watch. Thank you so much. Always appreciated. So this reading is for the fire sign of Sagittarius. So that's Sagittarius sun, moon, rising, if your Venus is in Sagittarius, or if you are cross-watching for a Sagittarian as well. General readings, of course, resonate a little differently for everybody watching. How could they not? Because everybody has different things going on in their lives. So it's helpful to watch all of your signs if you know them, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, because each one can provide a little additional information, clarification, and kind of help give you a better perspective on what's going on in your life. If you find that any of the readings do resonate with you, and you'd like to take a deeper look at something, reach out for a personal reading or information about that, you can get some info and contact details by clicking on the description link below. Click on that little arrow, and it'll pull down my email address, Maggie1McGuire@gmail.com. I would be delighted to work with you. I can usually respond in the same day with more information or within the first 24 hours. And I do readings full time. It's all that I do. So I'm pretty diligent at working with everyone's schedules and my own to get those readings set up in as timely a fashion as possible. And I do offer a wide variety of readings of all different lengths and types and costs. So email me if you're interested. All right, let's get into this. Sagittarius for the last half of July. For those of you who need to know or want to know, I am using Legacy of the Divine Tarot. And if we need to clarify, I will be using the Gilded Tarot Royale. Let's see what's going on for Sagittarius for the last half of July. Okay, Sagittarius, we have the Ten of Coins, followed by the Two of Swords, the Five of Cups, followed by the Ace of Coins. Coins is also known as Pentacles in some other decks. From the bottom of the deck, for overall energy and focus, we have the Lovers, and I'm going to take the card right behind it too because I feel I should, which is the Ten of Wands. There's also the King of Wands behind that, so your energy. Similar theme that I'm seeing for the fire signs. Long-term stability and security, money, finances perhaps. And partnership, because all three of the fire signs, yours and Leo and Aries too, have gotten the Lovers. For Leo and Aries, this was part of their for Leo, it was part of their primary focus too. So the Lovers represents a partnership, a relationship, a partnership. Now the nature of that relationship can vary, meaning it can be love and romance, it can be familial, like family, relatives. Excuse me. It can be a friend, or it could be a work partnership, although the Lovers implies that there's a fair amount of heat in this relationship. Excuse me. The air here is still a bit smoky from the 4th of July fireworks, because I'm recording this the day after. So, meaning that whatever the nature of this relationship, it often implies a romantic one because there's a lot of passion and excitement. It's fire energy, definitely a lot of feisty, fiery energy with the Lovers, very connective energy, but it can often represent a relationship that is, volatile or tumultuous, very up and down, roller coastery. The Lovers can also represent, needing to make a pretty significant decision. In the early tarot decks, this was often called or referred to as the choice, and it showed a man standing in front of two women or vice versa, the implication being that it's a three-party situation where a decision needed to be made that was going to significantly impact everybody. It might be that for some of you, it might not. It can represent a choice that will potentially have a pretty profound effect either on the relationship itself, because it's about the relationship, or it can represent a decision that you need to make in another part of your life that may have an impact on a primary relationship in your life. So that's the energy over the last half of July for you, Sagittarius. And accompanying and clarifying it is the Ten of Wands, which represents being at, the very end of a cycle that's been very challenging and very wearisome and burdensome. Because tens represent, cycles ending in the tarot. The 10 represents the most of the energy of that element of that suit, and Wands is the element of fire. And in Legacy of the Divine Tarot, this one that I'm using here, it's even more extreme than in the Gilded Tarot. In the Gilded Tarot, it shows the man standing up with the bundles of wands and one bundle on his back, and he's on his feet. It's so heavy he can't stand up straight, but he's struggling to the end of it where he can put those burdens down. Here in the Legacy of the Divine Tarot, it's even more extreme. Whatever this burden has been for you and your partner, or whoever this other person is, meaning it could be you're splitting up or something of that sort, or you're trying to make that decision. It's pretty extreme. I mean, this man is on his belly, kind of crawling those last few yards to where he can just get rid of this burden, this overwhelming sort of thing. So that's kind of the overall general focus or energy over the last half of July. Now, and that's been that's a similar theme to your sister signs, Leo and Aries, as well. Now, we have the Ten of Coins, followed by the Two of Swords. The Ten of Coins is governed by the element of earth, so it's often about things in the physical structure of our life, our day-to-day life. So it often can point to things like money, finance, property, real estate, assets, job, career, all that kind of stuff. It can also represent emotional things like long-term relationships, because they also make us feel safe, steady, solid, reliable, rooted, grounded. The Ten of Coins is a card that represents long-term stability and security. For example, if it represents, money, it represents that you have enough in the bank to make you feel, safe and secure. It's not a paycheck to paycheck energy. This is a card that sometimes is referred to as the inheritance card. So this might be about an inheritance issue for you. Maybe you're wrapping up the end of a legal battle or challenge that's been very difficult. It can represent long-term relationships and marriages, retirement. There's a connection to home and family with the Ten of Cups too, so it can represent family money, family home, family business, family estate. What it does is it represents having a present sense of long-term stability and safety and structure and continuity in your life because of the long, slow weight of accumulation of history that's behind it. Everything that went into building this up, whether it's money in the bank or a family home or property or a career path, like retiring with a really good pension plan, or a marriage that, you've been together for a long time, you have all this history. It represents having a present day sense of rooted stability that comes from, everything that went into building it up to be that. And it's clarified by the Two of Swords, or it's accompanied by the Two of Swords, which is interesting because the Two of Swords is air energy. That's the element which governs the suit, and that's mental. It governs our head, how our words and communications, how we think, our perspectives and ideologies. The Two of Swords can represent being at a crossroads and feeling stuck. The blindfold represents you may not know what to do, which direction to choose. But it's often a card that represents not seeing something that's in front of you and being a bit reluctant and resistant to seeing the crossroads, to looking directly at the choice, to looking at something. Because once we do that, once we take the blindfold off and we look at that 800-pound gorilla in the corner of our living room, we have to acknowledge the fact that there's an 800-pound gorilla in the corner of our living room, and what are we going to do about it? This represents having kind of your swords up and your blindfold on, and you sort of know there's an 800-pound gorilla in the corner of your living room, meaning whatever the issue is. But, you may dust around it and stuff like that, but, as long as you don't look at it directly, then you don't have to do anything. You don't have to take action or make a decision. So the Two of Swords can kind of represent having your head stuck in the sand a bit. Now, we'll clarify because we're going to have to clarify, but maybe a long-term financial struggle for some of you. Maybe you and your person, you and your lover, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, spouse, whatever, business partner it could be. I mean, you're coming to the end of what has been, I think, a rather long struggle, because the Ten of Wands doesn't happen immediately, usually. The Ten of Wands usually starts out as like a One of Wands, one wand, two wands. You're kind of, carrying your wands, maybe twirling it in your hands, whistling down the road, the two become three, the three become four, and so on until it gets to be like this. So you've been struggling through something for quite a long time, perhaps financial difficulties for some of you, maybe robbing Peter to pay Paul, and maybe you're, or maybe spending too much or not being wise about your budget or your money and kind of trying to ignore the reality of what's going on. That might be it as well. But coming to the end of it, we'll clarify. And then next we have the Five of Cups, which is it can be a card of regret, of sorrow, of loss, of grieving over the loss, even though there's still something to be salvaged, or you still have something. She's very sad. This person's very sad over these three goblets that are shattered, and whatever was in them has been lost. She still has two, so there is still something that you retain or something to be salvaged. But the focus is on what's lost here. We all have to acknowledge that, but there comes a time where we have to realize that there are still things that we have to be grateful for, or things that we might miss because we're only focused on whatever the loss or the regret is here. And what accompanies that is the Ace of Coins. Aces represent the number one, so they represent a new beginning, or an opportunity for a new beginning, a new path. So the Ace of Coins actually holds the potential of the Ten of Coins here. So this can represent a new beginning in a very practical sort of way. A new job, a new project, moving or relocating, because that's a new beginning, or some combination of all of those. Sometimes it can represent receiving a perhaps unexpected sum of money or resources which enable you to have a new start, a practical new start in something. But there's loss or regret here, and right here, before we begin to clarify, Sagittarius, it feels like you lost something in the past, something that was fell under the umbrella of earth energy, maybe a chunk of money or an investment, or the opportunity to gain long-term stability and security for you and another person, or perhaps that person itself represents that long-term stability and security. And I mean, this could be just relationship, meaning it could be that you and your person, either now or perhaps in the past, this long-term relationship was just maybe on the rocks for quite some time, and you just kind of ignored it. And by ignoring it, we can give ourselves a temporary reprieve, but we usually have to end up dealing with it sooner rather than later. And sometimes the longer you ignore it, the opportunity to have a kind of healing or a fixing or a renewal can be lost if you ignore it for too long. And that might be what's here, as well in terms of the relationship. It could be that you might be looking back on this relationship with some degree of, of regret and sorrow for what has gone before and what cannot be brought back or recaptured as well, this new beginning. And some of you, it might be, the relationship itself, but the focus is on, some kind of financial or material loss as well, or being under, you know, too much debt for too long and not really paying enough attention to it and not addressing it in the right way, perhaps because it was just too scary or whatever. You didn't want to think about it. Let's just shove the bills in the drawer. But what was also lost perhaps was the opportunity to resolve it completely or resolve it in an easier way than what you might be dealing with now. So let's clarify. Let's clarify this Ten of Wands. And I'm using a different deck to clarify. I'm using the Gilded Tarot to clarify. Let's clarify this, what looks like a pretty difficult and challenging cycle coming to an end. Yeah, I feel like, the Ten of Wands, it's been going on for a while, and there was some reluctance or resistance to take a look at it. And if it's a relationship to Sagittarius, it might be that one of you was like trying to, get a handle on it, whether it was about the relationship itself or money and finances within the relationship, or a combination of both. But the other person, your partner, just wasn't on board to try and heal things or fix things. And so in the end, you're looking at it going, maybe it's just time to move on. Maybe this is done. Let's clarify that Ten of Wands. Interesting. At the bottom of the deck, we have the Ten of Pentacles here, which is the same as the Ten of Coins here. Interesting. Long-term stability and security, whether emotionally or financially, materially, or a combination of both. So, what's the Ten of Wands about? This cycle coming to an end for you or for you and a partner. The Knight of Cups, the Nine of Pentacles, the Fool, the World, and the Six of Swords. Okay, so what is this about? The Knight of Cups, which is an offer coming in, an offer of love, support, help, encouragement, help. The Nine of Pentacles, which is independence, self-sufficiency, self-empowerment, self-confidence that comes from being able to work hard to get to a place where you're now able to be self-sufficient, not have to rely on anybody else. The Fool, starting off on a brand new journey again. The World, which is successful completion and preparing for the next phase. And then the Six of Swords is healing. The reason I'm pulling all of these up, and kind of blasting through them kind of quickly, because I don't want this to take too long. There may be an opportunity here. There may be an offer coming in. And it might be, it's a general reading, so the details and specifics, of course, are probably going to vary from person to person, but the energy remains the same. There's an offer coming in to help, it looks like to help you or you and your person become more independent and self-sufficient without having to rely on so many external or outside things or people and resources. So that you can have a new beginning, wrap up this whole difficult, challenging cycle, and begin a healing process. So it looks like there's some kind of offer coming in of help for that. Now, the nature of that offer might be different. It might be, may differ from, Sagittarian to Sagittarian. It might be from your partner, or it might be that you're in this with your partner and the offer of help is coming from some kind of external outside source. But it looks like there's an offer there to basically help you get back on your feet again. At the bottom, of course, we have that Ten of Pentacles and the Nine of Wands, which is, the Nine of Wands, so struggling to get to the end of something so that you can have, you can either retain or acquire more long-term stability and security in your life. It might be just financial, material focused, long-term stability and security. It might be emotional in a relationship itself, being able to hold on to a relationship which has a lot of time and history in it already. Or it might be some combination of that. I mean, money and finances is one of the primary things that couples can struggle with when they do struggle. So it looks like it looks like whatever the specifics of that long-term stability and safe structure is, it was ignored for some time, whatever the problems were, the underlying problems were. It looks like, that it was ignored for some time. Although I'll pull a quick clarifier for that Two of Swords. The Two of Swords, the head stuck in the sand. We all do it from time to time. We have the what looks like the shape of the moon here too, underneath here, which can imply intuition too, like ignoring your intuition, that nagging sort of feeling. Again, it might be both of you together, it might be one of you that ignored this. There is some sorrow and regret, towards the end of the month or at the end of the month. But, what that is and the intensity, of course, is going to vary for you watching this in a general reading. It might be that you're making the decision that, maybe there's just too much dirty water under the bridge, and I don't really think I have it in me to try for a renewal of this situation. But, you still have Two Cups upright with that Five of Cups, so it might be that, there's still hope, and you're still there's some help and an offer, and you're still gonna push through, but it's gonna be much more difficult than it was if you would have addressed it, or the other person would have addressed it earlier, and it may just take longer, and you might not be able to gain everything back. You might not be able to glue those glasses back together. All right, let's clarify this Two of Swords. The Sun. The Sun is no pressure, an uplifting of energy. Life, love, warmth, laughter, fun, vacation, joy in the sun. I mean, to clarify the Two of Swords, which is like the head stuck in the sand, this is like classic, you just, it feels like you just went on and, I mean, this is kind of like the energy of, if you lost your job or your partner lost your job or something like that, it's like living off of credit cards and pretending that everything's fine and doing the same, maintaining your same standard of living, even though you don't no longer have the same income to back it up, which is going to get you into trouble. Again, it can be that in related to finances, it can be that related in the emotional environment of the relationship or partnership itself. Might not be romantic, could be business too as well. So it literally is having your head stuck in the sand and going, no, everything's fine. The Emperor's new clothes are beautiful, right? Remember that story if you're old enough? All right, let's clarify the Five of Cups. And remember that if you spend too much time grieving over the past, that's where you're going to be stuck. We move in the direction that our attention is focused on. If our attention is focused on the present or the future, that's where we're kind of oriented and moving towards. But if it's completely stuck in the past, then that's where we're stuck as well. So you got to kind of remember that. So what's that sorrow or grief or regret about? The Fool, a brand new beginning, which is interesting because in the original spread, what clarifies the Five of Cups is the Ace of Pentacles, which is a practical new beginning as well. And the Ace of Wands, so both cards about new beginnings. So the regret and the sorrow is about perhaps the opportunity, the Wheel of Fortune right behind that, divine timing and orchestration. It looks like it feels like Sagittarius, like it may be that you passed up an offer or you passed up an opportunity, right? Yeah, I've got two different stories here. So some of you, there's an offer coming in to help you get out of whatever trouble it is that you've been in. And even though you're going to still be able to retain some stuff, it might not be enough. And you wonder, and that you should have addressed something earlier, or your partner should have addressed something earlier so that you'd be in a better position now, and you can't help but kind of regret that and wonder if a new beginning is even possible. For some of you, the regret might be that there was an offer or opportunity that popped up, financial, material, or even love oriented, maybe marriage or something, long-term stability or security, and you passed that up and you're now kind of regretting it. That maybe maybe the opportunity is gone. Let's get some advice. We'll end with that. What is the advice? How can Sagittarius best navigate through the situation, or is there anything they can do or focus on? The Four of Wands and Temperance. Okay. Let me just clarify really quickly if there's any action steps here, because I feel compelled to, and I always follow it. Because this is lovely. Four of Wands is unexpected blessings and happy surprises. It's one of the happy home cards, also a card of marriage. And Temperance is a rebalancing, bringing things back into harmony. So, action steps. I asked for any action steps, and the first card that came out is the Hermit. We also have the Six of Swords at the bottom, and Judgment. So, an opportunity for healing. But I think for the last, and it feels like there's actually quite a bit of positive energy here, because this is, a happy home celebration. This Four of Wands is happy home celebration, home stability, marriages, anniversaries, celebratory events that include friends and family, unexpected blessings and happy surprises. And when it's unexpected blessings and happy surprises, it's not an indeterminate length of time. It usually represents that something's coming in about like 2 to 3 weeks. That's going to be, rebalancing, kind of bring things back into balance. But the action step for the last half of July, which makes sense because it looks like this energy may be coming in around the first part of August. Your action steps for the last half of July is the Hermit, which is a card of retreat, of kind of taking a step back and looking at something, using the light of this lantern, which is symbolic for your experience and everything that you know, and kind of gaining some new wisdom and insight and clarity, maybe seeking out, some advice and guidance, so that you can, so there's an opportunity for healing here, which makes sense because Judgment represents an opportunity, to, have a game-changing path, but it's your choice which you want to take, and there's an opportunity for healing. So there's something to be salvaged here, that could be quite beautiful, which makes sense because that Five of Cups, you still have 2 cups upright. But I feel like for the last half of July, Sagittarius, your advice is to be the Hermit. Maybe take a step back. And if it's somebody who's waiting on an answer for you, tell them, I need to take a couple of weeks to kind of take a look at this and kind of go over it and look at the history and what I've learned and, what I need to do to move forward and all of this kind of stuff. So that's the advice for you. But I think actually the outlook, in terms of the potential outlook, is quite good. And for those of you who are considering an offer or an opportunity, I mean, I'm not here to tell you what to do, but, you know, I feel like for a lot of you, it's I vote yes, but it's, free will, free agency. So Sagittarius, that is your reading for the last half of July. I hope that you enjoyed it, found it helpful and useful. Again, if you'd like to take a deeper look at something, reach out for a reading or information. You can email me directly at maggie1McGuire@gmail.com. I would be delighted to work with you. I will see you all again, and you can get that information by clicking on the description link, click on that little arrow. I will see you all again in a couple of weeks for the August 2020 general readings. Until then, as always, stay safe and well, and I hope to see you here again soon.